Yo guys, what is up? It's Teach here, coming at you again with another video over on Ark Survival Ascended, and I wanted to make a video to totally explain how Kibble works in Ark Survival Ascended. There's not major changes, but these are some tips and tricks in order to completely understand the Kibble system and some of the things that people have been kind of dealing with that have been wrong the entire time. So I'm going to go ahead and show you all of that from square one all the way to the end, from basic to advanced tips for all this stuff. If you don't mind, smack that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. I'm close to 100k, and that's been my dream all along. So what is Kibble, right? So Kibble is a thing that you can make inside of Ark Survival Ascended, and that thing is something that you will feed to dinos in order to increase their abilities, right? Now, by their abilities, what I mean by that is the better speed in which you tame something, the higher stats it's going to get when it kind of becomes yours. So you knock something out inside of Ark, and then once you knock it out, you're going to feed that thing, right? You're going to force feed, you're going to shove Kibble up its butt or whatever you want to call it. And once you feed that thing, it's going to wake up, and then it's going to be your tamed creature once it hits 100%. Now, some creatures do not need Kibble. It's very select few. However, there are quite a few creatures that will require access to Kibble in order to get what's called a perfect tame, a 99 to 100% taming effectiveness. And in order to do that, you will have to use Kibble for pretty much every tame that's worthwhile in the entire game. Now you know what Kibble does, right? That's step one. So how do you make Kibble, and what is Kibble? It's pretty simple, actually. You either need access to a cooking pot or an industrial cooker. Now, industrial cookers are going to work much faster. Cooking pots are very easy to access early game, but a little bit slower and more difficult to use. So a industrial cooker is one of the best things that you can use in Ark, because you can link it with some water and make it irrigated, basically meaning that you don't have to place water inside of your pot in order to make this Kibble. Now, there are 6 total types of Kibble that you want to know. Basic, right? It's the easiest one to make. Simple, regular, superior, exceptional, and extraordinary. Now, those are your types of Kibbles that you want to know. I think I may have missed one, actually, but no big deal. And basically how it all works is a tier system. The lowest tier is basic, and that can typically feed things like dodos, featherlights, kairuku, dilophosaur, listros, parasaur, vultures, those types of tames, right? I think you can also give it to Maywings, things like that. However, there are also things that, like, the higher you get on the Kibble, typically you're able to feed it to the more difficult things, all the way up to extraordinary Kibble, which is preferred by griffins, megalania, rock elementals, thylacoleo, Tyrannus, things like that. Now, those are the harder tames to actually acquire inside of Ark, so they've got the hardest Kibble in order to actually feed them, right? So Kibble is something that you feed to those tames, and the higher tier your Kibble, the more difficult it is to make, right? Extraordinary Kibble, kind of hard to make because it's some endgame stuff that you need, or endgame tames. There's a little bit of a trick for it. I'll show you that in just a second. So that's the scale of Kibble, so that now you know how to make it, what it is, and what's the point of Kibble, right? So pretty simple so far. Now, the next thing that you need to know is a lot of people think that you can only feed the Kibble that is preferred by a certain creature. So that's actually wrong. You can feed any higher level Kibble to any creature in the game. And that's why people have a tendency to skip all of the Kibbles and go straight to extraordinary Kibble. All right. Now, the reason that I'm saying that, and I highly, 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 highly recommend this, is because extraordinary Kibble can be fed to any creature in the game. Now, why is that the case, right? A lot of people are like, well, why would I waste it? Actually, it's pretty easy to mass produce late game, because if you tame a bunch of Tyrannus, or when the other maps release, Deinonychus, Rock Drakes, Magmasaurs, Wyverns, those things, those can be used to produce massive amounts of Kibble. And you never have to think about it. You just throw the highest tier Kibble in any creature in the entire game, and it will also be, you'll basically be able to use it and tame anything in the entire game, right? However, you have to use the highest overall Kibble in the game. You can use the corresponding layer or higher, right? So if a creature requires a regular Kibble, they can eat any of these 5, but cannot eat basic Kibble, because basic is the step beneath it. But if a creature requires basic, they can have any Kibble in the game. Now, same thing with extraordinary, right? If a creature requires extraordinary Kibble, so if it's a preferred thing for that creature, like Megalania, Griffin, Tyrannus, Elemental, or Thylacoleo, you have to feed them this, and you can't feed them anything else, so they won't actually eat it. So that's the value of Kibble, right? Now, how do you make it? So now we've got all this stuff down. It's pretty simple. All you have to do I'm going to disable autocraft for a second. You have to place what you need in order to make it inside of a device to make it, right? So the industrial cooker is what I'm going to use now. You can click on consumables and then go to crafted foods and then kibble. Now you can see here are my 6 different types of kibble. And if I look over the top of extraordinary kibble, these are the things that are required to make it. It's very difficult to make until you hit endgame where you can kind of get free access to this stuff. But it's not that hard, actually. When you actually look at it, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. No, it's not. It really is easy to make. But I'm going to make basic kibble just so you can see. And for the most part, it's a very simple kibble to make. It is very easy. And it's very cost effective, if that makes sense. So another couple of facts about this kind of kibble is that, okay, wow, it just didn't do that at all. So once you make it, you're going to see enable autocraft, and it's just going to start pumping out a ton of kibbles. Oh my goodness, disable autocraft. Why did it just make a bunch of dyes? I don't want that. There we go. Basic kibble. That's what I want. So if I can make a maximum number of kibble, you can see that it's going to go ahead and slap that down right there. And it's going to continue to auto craft it. Now with this kibble, right? So now that I'm making it inside of this is how you make all your kibbles. You either use this right here in your industrial cooker or your cooking pot in order to make those kibbles. And you just put the required ingredients in. Now, again, I would highly recommend not enabling autocraft because you saw the mistake that I just made. It's going to take a whole bunch of your stuff and it's going to basically cause it to make dyes instead, because dyes come first and then come kibble after that. And you can see that I'll go back to kibble tab. I have enough to make as much as I can. So if you sit here and you mash A, which is the make maximum amount possible, it's going to actually enable you to craft a large amount of kibble. Now it's just going to sit there and it's going to continue to craft over time. So yeah, that's how you make it. That's what it's used for, all these kinds of things. So what else is kibble good for, right? Now, if you were an endgame tribe, what people have a tendency to do is to crank out a ton of basic kibble, like you see me cranking out right here, in order to feed baby dinos, because it's got a very low weight to it and it counts for double food compared to raw meat. So especially if you don't want to ever leave base, it's basically just free. You get a farm going and all you need is these 3 berries, some fiber, and then your dodo eggs. And if you can crank out a ton of this, you can just plop a whole bunch of it into a baby dino and then walk away because it's their preferred food. It gives them 100 food instead of the 40 food earned from a raw meat. And it's going to make it a lot easier to raise baby dinos. Now, that's kind of difficult to actually accomplish that part in the game. However, it is a doable feat. So all of that being said, those are some tips and tricks, right? These are the 6 different types of kibbles. This is how you make them by using this right here. You literally just plop it into a tames inventory when it's knocked out, and it'll get tamed by it with a maximum effectiveness using kibble. And that is literally everything you need to know about kibble. It's very easy. It's something that's not difficult to learn. So hopefully this video was nice and simple for you. It was, I mean, what, 7 minutes, 8 minutes in order to explain a full kibble system inside of Ark. And yeah, that's it. So hopefully this is something that helps you out. If you don't mind, smack that like button, leave a comment below for the algorithm, and then consider subbing to the channel. All right, Teach. Wow.